Sorry for that bit of a quiet intro, folks. I always struggle with the automatic recording, and I've got to switch the transcription off because otherwise it makes the file too big and I can't upload the file. It's a drama. Any case, good evening, guys. It's Karel Marais here. This is ENTP 7311, Entrepreneurship 3A. I'm going to deal with Learning Unit 4. I know many of you tonight are still busy battling with the first assignment that ends at Learning Unit 3, but I can't, we've got limited time, and I've only got so much time to try to work through the work. So we're going to start looking at Learning Unit 4. Learning Unit 4 is all about developing networks and building teams. This was also the first exercise in the second assignment that you're going to submit. So be aware of that. So I'm already moving on to that second assignment. I will go through the class, and at the end of the class, I'll give an opportunity for questions regarding the assignment. I'll also give an opportunity right now. If anybody's got any questions on the assignment that they'd like to ask me now, I'm happy to take any questions. Just I don't want people sitting here with bated breath and they've got questions and so on. Okay. If there's nothing, then I'll go straight into this. So, yeah, this is Learning Unit 4. So what we need to keep in mind is that in terms of the entrepreneur, there's this idea that entrepreneurs function on their own. They function without any support, without chatting to other people, without being involved with other people. And that's a fallacy. Entrepreneurs work with teams of people, both internal and external. They use their contacts, and these contacts are the people that give them the ability to do what they do best, and that is develop new businesses. So we need to keep in mind that it's about collaboration. This idea, because you've only got limited resources. So with limited resources, you need as much cooperation and as much help from other people as possible. And that is why you need the collaboration. We use the human capital that we have, that team that we put together, and we use our intellect and we use our abilities, but our social capital is what is really important. Because although our human capital and our intellect is part of what differentiates us, and charisma to a certain extent, social capital is where our ideas come from. Speaking to people, finding out what it is that people are needing. I was speaking to a class the other day that I was saying, you know, one of the things you do is you ask people, what do they want? Show me how would you develop this product. If I was to say to you, I'm going to make a product that's going to do X, Y, and Z, how would you develop this product? What would you want in it? Because that helps us to develop our ideas. It also support that we get from our knowledge base, from our colleagues out in the field, from other entrepreneurs. It also allows us to build up a reputation. So people know, if people know you are prepared to share information, then they will also share information. It's a quid pro quo, and somewhere in tonight's lesson we'll mention that. And also it's a way of learning new skills, acquiring new knowledge, because we can never know everything, but there are people that know things you don't know out there, and they will probably share with you. If we just think about the explosion of AI, on a daily basis, I liaise with colleagues that say to me, hey, listen, have you seen this tool? Have you seen what this thing can do? And we discuss and we use these tools to try to understand more and to gain new knowledge. And eventually you gain enough knowledge that you can share, you can support somebody, you can build up your reputation. And then of course the other thing is people have resources that you may not have, and they, if they prepare to share those resources with you, you might be able to go further and once again build your own resources that you can again share with others. So networks and having a support of people within a network is essential for any entrepreneur. There's different things that happen. This social capital, it creates the sense of a shared value of people that are connected through a network, and there are different things that happen in different ways in when we things that we do. So one of the things we create are bonds. Um, and bonds are connections with people that are like us, family, friends, people you might have gone to school with, for example, and those people are people that you collaborate with and you are comfortable with because they are similar to you. Bridges are things that you build with people that are you don't you may have some sense of identity, but there are things that go further than that. So I might have somebody that I sort of know, and I know we went to different schools together, but we doing the same type of things, and that creates a bridge with us. And then linkages are people, irrespective of where they place in your social hierarchy, or people that or whatever they're doing, but they are other people outside that you might find assistance from at some point when you are liaising with them. So, advantages of networks: you gain private information, access to skill sets, and access to power. Now, private information is things that are not available to the general public. So if you've got network contacts, they might be able to let you know things like when a new product is going to be released, or if they pitch to some investors, why did the investors say no? We don't like it because we say X, Y, and Z. And if you're pitching to investors, you can make sure to address those things. I can remember well when I was still back in the day, I used to own a paint company, an environmentally friendly paint company. And I wanted to get into a certain company that was a rather large painting company. So I made paint, they applied paint. And in I belong to a formal network group. And if you're a business person, I always encourage people to look at formal network groups. There are several. We're also going to speak about them later, but I personally belong to Business Network International, or BNI. If you Google them, there's a BNI group somewhere close to you, I'm quite sure. If there isn't, look at setting one up. They're really worthwhile. I don't belong to them anymore. I get no benefit if you do join BNI or start a group. But anyway, so at one of our BNI meetings, I said, guys, I need some help. I need a contact into this company. And the one guy said, Carl, I'll help you. And I said, what's your contact? He says, I play golf with the MD every week. And that's the private information, right? There's a private information thing. And when I spoke to him after the meeting, I said, and what? He said, look, come with me, you can play golf with me. I'll introduce you. I said to him, look, I suggest I don't play golf with you. He'll never do business if he sees my golf game. And but he arranged an introduction for me, and I wasn't able to do business with him, but I got to speak to the top guy in that company. And if there wasn't somebody that could give me a private introduction, I would never have been able to do that. Kevin, yes, I see golf is where deals are made or broken. It was my game. They'll only be broken. It's a game that I played it for a while, and I find it totally impossible. There's access to diverse skill sets. So guys out there in your network, you can trade information with them, skills, and they people that have got different experiences than you, and sometimes that whole different experience is exactly what you need. You need that different experience, that different point of view, because you're looking at something from your point of view, and somebody in your network who's got a different point of view, a different viewpoint, might see something completely different. Say, hey man, why don't you look at it like this? And bang, it changes the whole way that things are happening for you. And then also access to power. People in senior executive positions, they can provide expert advice to you, and especially when you're a young person and you're up and coming, those people can give you the experience, but they can also introduce you to people, similar to how this person, but this was a different angle, but similar to how this person introduced me to an MD of a company. You can get introduced to people that have access through friends, through family, or whatever, to people in serious power positions that can really help your position, help your company, and help you moving into a place. Something else that you need to be aware of is self-selected people. Self-selected stakeholders are people that decide they want to get involved in your organization, right? They want to get into your network. And those people are people that are normally great people to have. They say to you, look, hey, I want to speak to you. I'm interested in the business that you're doing. And you can get all types of things from them. There could be people, the resources that they have. They could be subject matter expertise. They could have funding. They could simply give advice, introductions to others, everything. But these are people, because they've self-selected, they have decided they want to be in your network. You don't have to pitch to them. You don't have to canvas to them. The danger of these people is that you must realize that there's a couple of guidelines you have to follow. If you are not enrolled in your network yourself, right? In other words, you're committed to your network, you're trying to help people in your network, you're sharing information with people in your network. If you're not truthful to the people within your network, and if you don't let other people choose the way, don't try to convince them, right? Let them come in and let them enroll in your network. If you see people want to be part of your network, don't push it. Let them come in. If you don't adhere to those three things, you're probably going to be pushing people away from rather than pulling people towards you. And especially those that want to enroll in your network. So here's some of the ways in which you can where you have networking opportunities. I spoke earlier. I spoke about the organization I belong to, but here's a couple civic organizations. So if you look at things like business chambers. Business chambers are great. If you join their meetings, go to them, you're going to meet other business people in your area. You're going to meet people that are keen on doing business. And people, you're probably going to meet some of your competitors, and you never know, you might be able to collaborate with some of those competitors. Going to seminars, it's always good to find out what seminars, sometimes the civic organizations present seminars, sometimes some of the universities or some of the universities have centers for entrepreneurship. They present free seminars. Go to those seminars, join them, because you will meet people there that you can basically get to become part of your network. Then we've got incubators and accelerators. Now, we'll talk in different occasion about incubators and accelerators, but let me just explain the difference between the two. So an incubator is a place where people go that have got a business idea, but they don't have a business. And an incubator incubates that business until the point where the business is ready to be launched, and sometimes slightly after the launch. Incubators work on different bases. Some incubators you pay, some incubators you give share, some incubators are places that are sponsored because there are people that are looking for investment opportunities. So they'll sponsor you up to a point, and then they'll say, okay, right, now you're up and running. We would like to buy into your business. We would like to give some capital. We want some shares or whatever it may be, angel investors or otherwise. Accelerators accelerate a business. So the business has already started, and they help you through networking, through promotions, through helping you make sales to accelerate the business and get it from a simple startup up to a point where it's trading and where it's a solid business that's busy making money for you, and if there are other investors, the investors. And then there are other organizations that are supported or dedicated to supporting entrepreneurs. I'm thinking about things like these entrepreneurial um, centers that some of the universities have or tertiary institutions have. Some of the big business organizations look for opportunities to support engineers, and even some retail engineers, entrepreneurs, some retail organizations like Pick and Pay, for example. They've got a program for entrepreneurs where they say, okay, if you're a small scale entrepreneur, we're not going to buy from you on a national scale, but we will get our local shop to stock some of your stuff. I know there was a brand, and was it Blou Blommetjies Vlei, um, that made a environmentally friendly washing soap and dish soap and stuff like that. And they got in initially through 1 or 2 Pick and Pays, and they eventually distributed quite widely throughout the Western Cape. So yes, there are organizations that want to support you. So how do we network? We attend networking events, but you must remember, networking isn't about you, right? It's not about just going to a meeting and trying to get people to give you something, give you business. It's not about, they talk about not collecting business cards. Not to say, okay, I've got 25 business cards right now. I'm going to email all these guys and I'm going to say to them, listen, you buy my product. It's not about that. It is about a two-way game. It's a targeted search for the right people. And you want to give value, you want to share, you want to exchange information. You must always see it as an opportunity for you to contribute to somebody else's business. If you go into networking and you go into a relationship with the idea that what are you going to give me, you're going to lose. You need to go into the networking idea with how can I contribute? How can I grow your business? How can I help at a networking event? And once you've done that, things like mutual interest relationship can be forged, where you've got the same personal interest and not just business interests. I mentioned golf earlier. You might come across a person, you start chatting to people at a networking event, and you find out you share a hobby. You both collect bonsais. And that then becomes a point where you can discuss and you can say, well, listen here, I've joined a bonsai club, or oh, you're part of a bonsai club. I'd love to join a bonsai club. And through the social aspect, your relationship is built that may eventually turn into a business relationship. Don't think that everybody's a natural networker. I know walking into a room full of strangers is daunting. For me, in my job, people say, but you speak to strangers every day. You walk into class and teach. That's different. Walking into a room full of strangers and you want to somehow get them to buy your product can be very daunting. But it is a skill, like any other skill, that can be learned. You can, if you try to get the skill under your belt and you start reading about it and you start practicing it, you will be able to network well. And one of the key ways to do this is to learn how to listen and to show interest. You shouldn't. It's easier to build and to get people to help and assist and buy from you by listening to them than talking to them or talking down to them. So sort of, if you listen to a person with interest and you listen to what they're saying and you don't interrupt them, you'll probably find that you're going to build a much better a skill set and find it much easier to network with people, right? Things like reading the room, right? What's happening in the room? How many people are there? Where's the focal point? What's happening in the room that you can say to someone, geez, did you see that? That's really interesting. See that sculpture over there? That's very impressive. And that's a conversation starter. If there are groups that are standing around and there looks like a group that you're interested in, and maybe somebody recognizes you in the group, good way, walk up to them, say, how's it? And start talking to them. And that way you're getting into the group. And then suddenly you're talking to a whole group of people. You also need to, if you talking to somebody, you're talking to that person. You're not sort of trying to, yes, yeah, that's very interesting. I'm trying to find who else can I talk to, because then people are going to say, okay, you're not interesting. And then don't dominate the conversation. Don't take over the conversation and keep pushing your agenda and keep trying to come back to the point you want to make. If you want to ask questions, which is not a bad idea, keep them brief. So tell me, how does that work? Don't come with, oh, you know, where I come from, we do it this way. And I find that if we do it this way, it works out, blah, 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 blah. And so how do you do it? Ask them how they do it. Simple. And if you want to move on and want to move to another group, don't slink away. Just say, hey, thank you so much. Shake their hands, say to them, thank you. So great speaking to you. I need to catch up with John over there. And off you go to John. So disengage gracefully. And then if somebody has given you some advice, you know, thank them for the advice. You can do it there, but even better, send them an email. That evening, the next day, send them an email and say, thank you so much. You gave me such good advice, because that builds a relationship. That's something that people say, oh, well, they came back, they said, thank you. And they sort of will remember you, and they might then follow up with another email, replying to you, and there's your connection point. The key thing is the quid pro quo strategy. I've mentioned most of these things, so I'm not going to go through it. Just remember, quid pro quo. If you want to take, you've got to give. Give as much as you take as much as you give, which is quite important in networking. Virtual networking is an interesting thing. And this is a section that is the one that will feature in your next assignment. And there's so many different things in terms of social networks. We've got Twitter, which has now become X, if I remember correctly, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All of these things have got the opportunity for you to connect with people. All of those provide ways to connect with people who are expert in the field. And then, of course, your stakeholders and fellow entrepreneurs, they all on one or more of these social medias. If you for instance, want to get your product out there, start an Instagram and you start talking about your product, start talking about your market, you know, or create YouTube videos showing people how to do things, teaching people how to use your product better. And you'll be surprised how much feedback you can get from people out there in the public domain that'll come back to you and say, and ask you more questions and ask you things that can help you to actually broaden the scope and get more people interested and actually introduce them to your network, right? So use the social media to its fullest extent. Now, Twitter or X is the easiest way to find potential stakeholders, because in Twitter, people respond at short, sharp. So you very quickly find that people react to you and people start saying, and you can start asking and speaking to people there. LinkedIn is a bit more complex. And in LinkedIn, you've got to be very careful. LinkedIn isn't a social media like Twitter or X, or Instagram or any of these, or TikTok if you want to, because people use TikTok as well. LinkedIn is a serious business platform. It's a social media for business. Don't mess around as you would on other social media, even now as a student. Your LinkedIn profile, keep it very professional. And use it as something that you see as part of your career now already, because that is where serious business people and people recruit through LinkedIn. I've had a number of times, and my LinkedIn profile, I'll admit, I don't give enough attention to my LinkedIn profile, but I've had offers come through LinkedIn where people have said to me, would you like a job? I've had people that have asked me advice through LinkedIn. I said, listen, I see you teach. I'm interested in this. Can you give me a couple of tips and so on? But if you keep your LinkedIn professional, it's great, but it also helps you to look at what other people are struggling with in the business world and what other people in your field are struggling with. And then there are some people out there in LinkedIn, you need to scratch a bit to find them, that want to support young and budding entrepreneurs. And they say, listen, my LinkedIn is a question and answer forum. Come ask me questions. I will help you. And I will tell you what I'm doing, what I'm busy with, and see how I can possibly help you. Another great thing around networking is to build your founding team. Remember, founding team is that group of people that start the business. So you, as the entrepreneur, you want to start the business, you might need somebody with a technical skill. You might need somebody with a sales skill or a financial skill or some skill that you don't have. If you are networking, right, you can get that group of people with those complementary skills together. Those are the people that eventually form your founding team. Um, and you've got founders and co-founders. You normally have you as the founders, and then the couple of co-founders are those people that have skills that support you. And the idea of it is to of the founders and co-founders is that you need to build the company so that it provides economic and social returns for yourselves as the founding team, because in most of the cases, the founding members will all have some share or some financial interest. And you know, if you can get a team together that's really strong, the chances of success is really much better. If you are only a solo entrepreneur, you're only listening to your own voice. And it's very, very easy to start going around in a circle. So studies have shown us that we have a group of people together, the companies rise faster and they survive on longer term and they're more successful. And most people that want to invest, venture capitalists and so on, will tell you it's very simple. You need a strong leading entrepreneur or a founder, and you need a strong team supporting them, right? And if you've got those two things, they believe you will be successful in your organization. Remember, in terms of the founding team, a diverse team is better than a team that are all exactly the same, right? If you've got a demographic diversity, age, gender, race, all of these things, people think differently. Cognitively, they think differently, and people don't duplicate each other. They don't simply say what others want to say, because they've got a wider lens that they look through, and these different approaches, these decision criteria that different. People's courses of actions differ, and that is a great thing to have, because it gives you a broader view on things, and it allows you to come up with more ideas, more ways to do things, and the team can then collectively decide which is the better thing. Because your danger is groupthink. And groupthink is where a group of people are so similar that they similar mindset leads them to similar conclusions, and they don't see the gaps or the errors, or they all see the same gaps and the same errors, but they miss the other gaps and errors. If there's a little bit of healthy conflict, team members point out the differences. You have a devil's advocate in between, and people say, hang on. You're saying this, but you're forgetting, what about this and what about that? How are we going to counter that? Your idea can only work if we counter that. Then you're starting to get a good team. Then your team's going to work, right? And there it is, the devil's advocate. I knew it was somewhere. And that's a person that gives the counter role, that says, yes, that's fine, but what if this goes wrong? We're saying we're going to sell 2,000 units in the first 3 months. What happens if we sell only 200 units? Where are we going to get the money? How are we going to build the company further? How do we then, what do we do with the other 1,800 units that we've made? Because there's a lot of capital in those. Shouldn't we maybe only make 500 units? shouldn't we perhaps have a scarcity of the product so that people want it and create a bit more excitement in the market and that type of thing, you know? So never be scared of a bit of conflict, a bit of difference in the organization. But the one thing that you must have is you must have clear organizational goals. That way, everybody knows where we're going and that we all are trying to chase the same things that we all want to do. I've got a quote up here of Steve Jobs on a separate note here. It's okay to spend a lot of time arguing about which route to take to San Francisco when everybody wants to end up there. But a lot of time gets wasted in such arguments if one person wants to go to San Francisco and another secretly wants to go to San Diego. I'm going to read that again. It's okay to spend a lot of time arguing about which route to take to San Francisco when everybody wants to end up there. But a lot of time gets wasted in such an argument if one person wants to go to San Francisco and another one secretly wants to go to San Diego. And that's the point about organizational goals. In your founding team that you've got through all of this networking that you've done, you've built up this team. You must make sure that the goals of the organization and the goals that you all want to achieve are the same and we all understand it. Guys, I'm going to say thank you. If there's any questions, happy to take it. Happy to take questions about the assignments. And if there's none, I'm happy to say good night. Anything out there? Okay, as always, my email address is on there. Please feel free to drop me an email at any stage. Please just put your subject matter. I had an email last week from a student not in this class. But it took me about 4 emails to figure out what the real question was because I didn't have the class. I didn't know it was entrepreneurship 3A, and I didn't know was it a full-time, part-time. I teach about 4 different entrepreneurial groups. So it helps if you tell me what you want. Okay, I see there's no questions. Guys, I'm going to say thank you and good night. And we'll chat soon. I'll hopefully have this recording up by sometime tomorrow morning. Thank you and good night.